Hello, Holy Trinity family from St. Peter's Square in Rome. 3 days ago, in the chimney above the Sistine Chapel, white smoke blew out. Those of us gathered in the square were delighted by a baby seagull that hopped across the jumbotron toward the smoke pipe, and then to an adult seagull that fed it something from the roof. It was a little moment of communion, of the young being nourished, of a vulnerable being finding its place. I thought, is this a sign? Is this a good sign that those vulnerable, hungry will be welcome at the table? Is it a sign of Easter hope? And I said something to Peter, like, this is a good sign. Our church has a future, and there's new life. And then, at that moment, I kid you not, the white smoke began pouring out of the chimney, and all of us turned to the actual chimney, confirming, yes, white smoke. And then the bells began to peal, and the sun's rays streamed through those figures atop St. Peter's Basilica. The seagulls lifted. I'm not sure whether the baby seagull could fly yet, but it was an amazingly spiritually uplifting moment. And I, like everybody, cheered, my spirit soared, and I surprised myself quite a bit. So then it was another hour until Robert Francis Prevost, Pope Leo XIV, came out on the balcony to speak his first public words as Pope. And what a contrast to our first reading today from the Acts of the Apostles, where the followers of Jesus have scattered due to the persecution of Stephen as far as Phoenicia, Cyprus, and Antioch, and where those who proclaimed Jesus as Messiah were first called Christians. And in our readings this Easter season, we keep hearing of the stories of the early Christians and the attempt to shut down the movement, but instead a large number kept being added to them. So while here in Rome, I walked past the Colosseum the other day as the sun streamed through it, and I couldn't imagine what it was like to be among that growing number of Christians who were killed in that very place for sport. But then Christians were tolerated, and then eventually it became the state religion, as we know, under Constantine. We know now the abuses that occurred as those who led the Catholic Church became too closely aligned with the state. Before traveling here to Rome, I was in County Galway, Ireland, where next month work begins to excavate and then give a proper burial to the nearly 800 children who died through neglect and without proper care in a mother-baby home in Tuam, County Galway. 800 children's remains were found in an abandoned septic tank. It makes me so sad that these children and the mother of these children were not treated with respect. They were treated pretty horribly by the Catholic sisters, whose order, Bon Secours, means good help. The trauma inflicted by the very healing ministry of Jesus is kind of hard to bear. I see this abuse as related to a church with too much power, with men in charge and women who adopted their anti-woman approach. When I learned of this abuse in Ireland, as well as the abuse in the American Catholic Church, I struggled, like so many, about whether to remain in the Catholic Church. And I made the decision to stay, to be a woman who stays. And so I'm here at St. Peter's Square, cheering for Pope Leo XIV, praying the Angelus with him today, Sunday, when I'm recording this, and also wearing my Ordained Women button. Despite everything, I believe that the Holy Spirit is always at work and is at work in our church, and that our new Pope might be a man like Barnabas, described in today's reading. Barnabas, when he arrived and saw the grace of God, he rejoiced and encouraged them all to remain faithful to the Lord in firmness of heart. For he was a good man, filled with the Holy Spirit and faith. This gives me hope that our Pope might be that kind of a Christian. Also, the hundreds of religious sisters who are gathered here in Rome for the Superior General's Assembly, a few of whom I've had dinner and lunch with over the past few days here in Rome, they give me hope for the future of our church. And all of us who stay, and those who've also gone elsewhere, who work and pray for our church. Though it will never be like that early church, I do pray that Pope Leo XIV will lead us in that kind of spirit of being a counterweight to the state, a prophetic and pastoral voice and presence that welcomes and nourishes and heals all.